Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to latest live video. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Pete Evans today from SalesStar, and we're going to look all about the importance of goal setting in sales. Obviously, I won't steal any of Pete's thunder to do that, but as usual with these sessions, if you've got any questions or comments, stick them in the whatever platform you're watching this on, and we'll try and cover as many of those as we can. I appreciate that a number of people watch this kind of after the end. So again, please feel free to ask the questions, put it in the comments, and we'll pass it on to Pete. So Pete, do you want to quickly introduce yourself anyway before we go on?
Yeah, so thanks so much for the warm welcome, Michael. Great to be back on and doing a LinkedIn Live with you this afternoon from the UK. Great to see you in the office in Manchester. So I'm the managing director of SalesStar in the UK. Our head office is in New Zealand, as Michael already knows because he's interviewed our CEO in the past, Paul O'Donoghue. And we work with businesses to transform sales performance. And we work with a wide variety of clients, ranging from startups in the tech space right into the global space. And I'm really excited this afternoon to share some insights into the importance of goal setting when you're building a sales plan. And I've also built in a couple of additional slides, Michael, as well, to add some more value to the listeners this afternoon.
Brilliant, Pete. Thank you. Well, yeah, so as usual, I said if you've got any questions, please ask. But I'll hand it up to you, Pete. I'll bring up the presentation and we're ready to go.
Fantastic. And please, Michael, if you want to stop us at any stage and ask some questions or clarification, please do. So the reason I put the presentation together is we work with a lot of businesses that have got a business plan, which might be a financial plan, which has been put together either by their finance director or by their accountant. And those essentially are a series of spreadsheets or tabs on a spreadsheet or some numbers. They've probably invested in having a marketing plan. But the one key thing is that you can have all those plans, but if you don't have a sales plan, which is aligned to your goals, the sales plan is really about how you're going to execute on your numbers. And often, Michael, we know from your own experience of working with a bank and probably your experience of building up your Northern Affinity brand, you've got to have a plan of how you're going to execute those numbers. And what we often find is that companies don't have a written down sales plan with the right KPIs and metrics, and they don't have their own personal goals in that plan as well. And what's interesting is that we're a partner of Objective Management Group in the US, which has probably done the largest piece of research over the last sort of 31, 32 years into what makes an organization successful from a sales perspective and what makes an individual successful in sales. And one of the insights they've been able to share with the partners over the last 32 years is that most salespeople and sales managers and sales leaders don't have written down personal goals. And the way that I describe it is that, if you're wanting to set off to Cornwall from, say, Manchester or Leeds, you'd know your destination and you'd have a sat nav. Or, in the old days when I was growing up, you'd have a map. So you'd have a plan of how you're going to get there. Actually, most businesses are actually setting off in the morning or the start of the year, and they don't have any goals of where they're going to go by the end of the year. Yeah, they've got a financial plan, and that's just one aspect of building a sales plan. So today I want to talk about the importance of goal setting, the importance of having some written down personal goals and what that means when you're actually setting a sales plan up. So Michael and I were talking beforehand. I did have a couple of videos I wanted to share as part of this. So unfortunately, because we couldn't get the tech stack to work, which is probably a subject of another video, Michael, I can only show you a screenshot. But if anybody would actually like to see the videos, then please reach out to us or put a comment in the chat facility this afternoon. So we have our own learning and development platform called the SalesStar Academy, and the videos are all put together scripted and put together by actors. And we actually have two main characters, and the names are probably exaggerated for the truth. Mark Drain, who you could refer to as the sales manager who doesn't have a sales plan, and Penny Wright. So Mark believes in not having a strategy, and he believes in not having goals and a plan. The way that he motivates his team is to basically say every morning, you need to get on the phone and make calls. Penny, who is the epitome of an ideal sales manager and sales leader, believes it's really important that you have goals and a plan. And she used an expression in the video that, soldiers who are going into battle wouldn't go into battle without the general or the marshals having a plan of exactly what they want to achieve. And so actually, one of the things that you can do as a business owner, I know we've got a lot of, smaller businesses, particularly within Northern Affinity, and there's a lot of people who are maybe in that startup phase, just stepping back and saying, okay, why did I go into business? And I know that, speaking to some of the other Northern Affinity members, people set out with wanting to have a purpose. But if your business goals and your sales goals are not aligned to your purpose and your own personal goals, then you're not setting yourself up for success. You're setting yourself up for failure. And let me share with you an example. If, say, one of your goals is to be able to take 2 months off a year. I was going to say 2 years off a month, Michael. That'd be unusual, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be. Maybe we can work towards that. But if you want to take 2 months out of your business every year and you're responsible for generating revenue, then what you've got to do is that's a personal goal, but you've got to build your sales plan around that, and you've got to have that documented. And you're going to see shortly, we're going to share one of our resources which people can download at the end of this. I'm blessed that Oliver, our digital marketing executive, has actually built in a QR code as well. So you can take a screenshot and download the one-page plan at the end of the presentation. But actually having a statement of intent, a statement of purpose for the year in terms of your sales goals is really, really important. And one of the things we've done as a business is that everybody in our team, whether they're in sales or not, we've actually shared our personal goals with each other. And it's remarkable when you share those personal goals, how impactful they are on the performance of the business and driving sales performance and creating a culture of sales excellence. And this can apply whether you're a one-person business or right up into the global space. So what we always say, as I show on the next slide, Penny talks about design first and then execute for high performance. So investing time, either yourselves within your team or using somebody else, design a sales plan which is based around the goals of the people in the business. Because we talk a lot about alignment, and actually having people aligned to those goals is so important. And I'm going to share with you an example from somebody in our team. One of our team's personal goals is to be able to go and work for SalesStar Global in New Zealand. Well, if I know that's one of his goals, then we can align everything to make that happen. But making these things happen is also involves generating additional revenue for the business. So you've got to design your plan, you've got to have clear goals, and then that helps you actually execute. And here's something else for those of you who are building a business and scaling a business. Don't be frightened as a leader of sharing your personal goals with the rest of the team, because get them excited about your personal goals and they'll also hold you accountable. So the first real nugget here is about designing a sales plan which is based around your personal goals. And for some of you listening today, you may not have heard that before, but it is so important. And then what I really wanted to share with the audience today is the fact that we talk about competencies related to high performance. And these competencies can apply whether you're in a small business or whether you're in a much bigger business. And you'll see there are 4 essential competencies which people talk about. And I know, Michael, you've had other people and within Northern Affinity talk about some of these that are operating in the leadership field or the coaching field. But all these competencies apply to building a successful sales plan. So the first thing really is about the intelligence quotient. And this isn't based on somebody's academic ability, but it's we know, Michael, don't we, that intelligence is much more than a piece of paper, and saying whether you've got a degree or A-levels or GCSEs. So if you've got a certain level of intelligence and capability, this is to do with management. It's to do with management of your numbers and understanding your numbers and the KPIs and the metrics. But and then one of the really important things, and this is talked a lot today, and a friend of mine over the weekend said to me, yeah, EQ, he said, is that's something that's just become fashionable in the last couple of years? And everybody's talking about it and thinks they're an expert in this area. But interestingly, if you're a solopreneur, for example, you might say, well, I've nobody in my team. But actually, if you're a solopreneur, you will have people in your team. Part of your team will be your clients. So you've got to lead your clients. So having the emotional quotient and leadership is important, whether you're a solopreneur or whether you're in a much bigger business or whether you're trying to scale your business. Because the ability to listen, be in tune with people, pick up some of the signs is so important. And this is really important when you're trying to build goals with people. And I know, for example, I'm going to pick on you a little bit here, Michael, but you're building a membership organization, across the whole of the north of England, and you're doing a great job in doing that. You're dealing with different personalities, different sizes of businesses, and you've got to have your ears open. You've got to pick up things. You've got to deal with people with different levels of emotional intelligence, emotional quotients, and satisfy different people's needs. But I know that one of your goals when we first started talking, 2 or 3 years ago, was to build this collaboration network across the north of England and get people working together. So that was one of your, I suppose, a business and personal goal. Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah, no, that's spot on, Pete. Absolutely.
Yeah, but you've got to have a certain amount of emotional intelligence, emotional quotient to be able to do that, and you've got to be able to, lead people. And then one of the things about setting goals, and the last 2 years have had a massive impact on the way that we work, we interact with each other. Doing things like this and Zoom and meetings on Microsoft Teams. We've had to adapt to a changing environment. So you can have goals and you can have clearly articulated business and sales and personal goals, but you've got to be able to adapt. And we all know, Michael, don't we, that there's quite a lot of people who have really struggled to adapt over the last 2 years to the changing business environment. And, you're a great example where, you took on the offices, the Northern Affinity HQ, and 2 years down the line, you're going to a different way of operating as a business. So, I'm interested, how much of a challenge has it been for you to adapt your own sort of route to market and strategy?
Absolutely. I think for us, normal when you adapt to things, it's kind of relatively slow, isn't it? Things move, trends move relatively slowly.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, things have changed quite week, and had to adapt then, and it was up and down for restrictions and things like that. So I think that's been a challenge. But kind of generally how you do it is you prepare, plan for the best, prepare for the worst type of approach. That's generally been our kind of my mantra anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good way of putting it. And the last thing, and the first three of these competencies in high performance business leadership, which is linked back to goals, is to do with what we call sales quotient. And you'll see in the red there that what are the pillars of effectively leading a business: sales. And actually, the listeners are probably bound to expect me to say this, or people watching this, but actually, without sales, you don't have a business. You can have great operations, you can have great marketing, but it's actually, if you're not prepared to sell something, you've not got a business, you're not going to have any revenue coming in. So I would argue that actually sales is the most important part of the business. And I'm bound to say that because it's something that I'm passionate about. But actually, you've got to have all these four aspects if you're going to scale your sales. You're going to lead people, you're going to have to, your clients are having to adapt. And if you're adaptable, it creates new opportunities. So when setting goals, take into account there are four factors in leading your business. And even if you're a solopreneur, you will have to use these different quotients when you're dealing with people. So I'm going to move on now and show you how some of these things apply. And what I wanted to show you really is people talk to and say, well, what is the pathway to success in sales? And we have a high performance pathway, and we talk about I talk often about getting businesses unstuck in the sales process and getting them to actually smashing the targets. And you'll see here where we've got the little stage 2, the sales plan. And if there's nothing else you take away from this, one of the key things that will really help you build a business and scale it from a revenue perspective is having a sales plan. And I would encourage those people who've invested time and energy and perhaps money in having a marketing plan. And initially, we were having a discussion earlier on today in our own business about, do you really need sales? Is it not all about marketing? Well, for me, marketing is all about communicating with prospective customers. It's all about generating interest. But unless you're sort of an Amazon type business where people are going online, or you've got a brand, say like Apple, which Apple invests hundreds of millions of pounds in the brand and the marketing, you've still got to be able to sell your product or service. And I know within Northern Affinity, Michael, we've got a lot of the members that they have to sell their products. People don't wake up in the morning and suddenly say, I think what's the best membership organisation to join in the north of England? You still got to sell your services, Michael. Yeah. And as we've talked about, you get some people who make an inquiry that are not fit for purpose. So you've got to have a process. So the things I'm going to talk about are the importance of a sales plan, really. So a sales plan doesn't have to be complicated. And what you can see on the screen here, and you can, for the audience today and anybody watching this as a recording, you can download a copy of our one-page sales plan. So people to put this together, and you'll see we've got this, what we call strategic growth intent. And a strategic growth intent, it's actually a goal for the business. So a strategic growth intent might be a marketplace you're particularly targeting. So it could be, you might want to I know, and I won't name who this individual, but there's somebody that I deal with in Northern Affinity who is trying to target the legal sector for opportunities. So their strategic growth intent might be to win 20 clients in the professional services sector in 2022. Another strategic growth intent or sales goal might be, we want to increase customer spend by 50% from existing accounts in 2022. There can be all sorts of goals. In your world, Michael, it might be that I want to increase, I want to have 90% retention of existing members and renewing. That could be a goal. Or it could be that I want to increase the members by 50% in 2022. So do you see, in terms of goals, actually stating what the goal is starts to drive the right metrics and behavior as well.
Makes sense.
So the really key thing of having it on one page is you can make this visual in the business. You can download it. You can put it up on the wall. We've got some clients who've got the one-page sales plan on an A3 document on the wall that everybody can refer to. But the key thing here is it starts to break it down into numbers, and it starts to break it down in terms of the verticals and who do we want to speak to in the business. So again, if anybody wants to download this at the end, they can do. So what are the things that actually make up a sales plan? Well, I've already talked about strategic intent, and I've given you some examples of that and shared some with you. But sales goals, and this is where some of this starts to relate back to your financial plan as a business. So the sales goals are the numbers, but it's really important when you're looking at the sales goals. Often what businesses do, they might have a revenue target, and they might say, for example, right, the next quarter, we want to bring in £100,000 of revenue, for example. And they'll just say, that's our sales goal. But actually, that's not a sales goal. That's actually a revenue target. A sales goal is actually broken down into how you're going to achieve that goal by quarter, month. But more importantly, you break that sales goal and say, okay, how much of that revenue is going to come from existing accounts? So share of wallet. How much of it is going to come from recurring revenue, because some clients sell retainers, so you've got some recurring revenue coming in. And then how much new business do we need to win? So when you start to break down the goals, it helps you focus your activity. Because often what people do is they invest so much time chasing new business, they forget about their existing accounts and growing their existing accounts. So this is really important when you're setting goals, is to really break it down and say, what does that number mean? And where do I need to focus my energy? And then the third part of your goal setting related to the sales plan, it's having the leading activity. So what are the metrics? And I know we have a lot of people in Northern Affinity who are really interested in data and are data driven, and I know we've got some really great accountants in Northern Affinity, but actually understanding to get one client or one piece of work or a new contract, how many people do I need to be speaking to? How many leads do I need to generate? And this is where you can start to get some synergies with some of those great marketeers as well in our network. But when you understand that, in our business, we have, as you know, we have ongoing lead generation campaigns, particularly on LinkedIn and Google AdWords. We understand the numbers. So we understand how many leads need to come in at the top of the funnel, how many conversations we need to have, how many proposals we need to, and we have goals for those, and we can measure those things as well. So we know what the leading activity is. We know if we attend events or we do presentations like this, what are our goals and objectives. So having the leading indicators is so important. And then the fourth part of this is, and again, this is linked to goals, it's understanding your target market. So lots of people, when they're selling, they have a scattergun approach in terms of how they communicate. I can see you smiling there, Michael. I'm sure in your early days of Northern Affinity, it was a bit of a scattergun approach.
I think my life is pretty much a scattergun approach for me, just in general.
But be more specific. You might want to target a specific vertical. You might want to target specific people. But there's lots of things that you can do. And then this is really important. It's okay saying I want to target manufacturing companies or engineering companies, but who do you really want to speak to? So understanding your target audience is so important when you're doing things, because and I'll talk about this in terms of strategic messaging, but as a business, we want to speak to the business owner, the CEO, or the MD. We don't want to speak to the salesman. And this helps us understand. So when we're setting goals, we'll say, these are the people we really need to speak to in the business. And that actually drives our sales effort, and it means that we're helping to qualify people. You can document in your sales plan, what are the problems you're solving? And just stepping back and understanding what problems you solve. And this is part of your goal setting. Most businesses, that they still, and I'm sure you can remember this from your sales days, Michael, but you still hear these terms, we need to understand the features and benefits of our product. And actually, that really is sort of old school thinking. Actually, most of your customers, and you think about your goals, they have a problem that your product can solve. And actually stepping back and understanding what your potential clients' problems are and what are the solutions, this is really important. And then we move into things like strategic messaging, 90-day priorities to ensure execution, and sales process. And I haven't got time today to talk about sales process. So everything that's in here is linked back to your goals, because if it's not, which is strategic intent, you're going to go off in the wrong direction. And again, if you're trying to build a team, or you've got an outsourced team and an external team, having these things will really, really help you. So I'm going to move on now. I'm going to talk about go-to-market strategy. And this is linked back to your goals as well. And this really is based on what we call consultative selling. Now, I was saying before that a lot of people still talk about features and benefits. I can see you smiling there, because you'll remember this from your early sales career, Michael.
Absolutely.
But these days, it's more about being consulting, and this is it's a sales skill, and personally, I believe that people have got to learn these skills because we have two ears and one mouth. And interestingly, the more questions you ask a prospect in that sort of discovery phase of a greater sales process, the more you're going to help your client or your prospect achieve their goals, because you're going to start to uncover needs. And here's the interesting fact. Most of your clients and prospects are not interested in the features and benefits of your service or product. They're actually interested in the outcomes of what you do. And using consultative selling, it differentiates what you do, because instead of focusing on products, it focuses on enhancing client profits through increasing sales or reducing costs. That's actually what most people who are running businesses are interested in.
Yeah, it's that what's in it for me, basically, isn't it? That's all people really care about.
Yeah, and no disrespect to Northern Affinity, Michael, and it is, you've done a fantastic job over the last 3 years. But actually, what most people are interested in is what's in it for me, and is it going to help my business? Is it going to bring collaboration opportunities? Is it going to free up some time? All those great things that we've talked about in the past. But the key thing to think about when you're setting goals is, what problems am I solving for my people I'm trying to reach out to, and what can I help them gain? And this is really this is really sales. And I think you started your career in the banking sector, and actually the banks look much of a muchness. I know we've had this conversation as well, but occasionally I get calls from competing banks. And actually, they'll come on and say, "Oh, we've got this market-leading product," but they haven't asked me any questions. Actually, when somebody rings you up and they're making a cold call, or we've made an inquiry onto their website, I think the interesting thing is that what then happens is you notice the difference when somebody says, "Well, the first thing I'd like to do is actually understand a bit more about your business and some of the challenges," because it shows that they're demonstrating empathy. And yes, they are following a process, but there's certainly some things there that which can really help. So think about it. What are their goals? What's your prospect trying to really achieve? And again, you can say to somebody, "So, Michael, can I ask you? You've invested 30 minutes in. You're going to invest 30 minutes of your time in this meeting. What's your number one goal? What's the number one thing you want to achieve in the next 30 minutes by speaking to me?" And when you ask that question, it's a very open-ended question. It makes people feel comfortable. So this is some bonus slides, Michael. I hope you don't mind me building these in, but I'm going to talk a bit about strategic messaging and link to personal goals as well. So unique value proposition, and I might be treading on the toes of some marketeers here a little bit, but I want you to think about this when you're having a conversation with somebody. And all this comes from, defining what your goals, your prospects are, your target market, etc. But unique value proposition focuses on, you'll notice real focus here, focuses not on outcomes. You support it with measurable data, and you state the time frame that you achieve it in. So here's an example of a unique value proposition that you can use in a sales meeting, and you'd use this if you were ringing somebody up, or you've got a lead with your website, and it says here, "Working with chief operating officers, we've improved logistical costs by an average of 42% within the first year. Just last week, we worked with a similar business to yours, where their savings amounted to £1.4 million. I'll give you an example of one of our unique value propositions in SalesStar. During the last 12 months, we've worked with over 200 businesses globally that have exceeded their sales growth targets significantly. We're currently working with a business similar to yours, Michael, that has grown from 3 million to 7 million in the last 12 months. So again, what you're doing is you're making it feel real, and you're aligning what you do with what their growth objectives might be. And I'll just this is completely live, Michael, but I'll just come up with a strategic messaging statement for you. Working with other businesses like yourself, Pete, we've helped them generate 10 new opportunities in the last 12 months for their business, which has resulted in a significant increase in their sales. I mean, obviously, you can refine that for your own whatever, but you can see here that what you're doing is you're aligning your messaging with their personal goals. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, Pete. Yeah, absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
So there would have been an example here, but if anybody's interested, if they do the download, they'll get access to some of this video content. So the unique value proposition can be used when you're prospecting. It can be used in a networking meeting, because I don't know about you, Michael. I've been to plenty of events where you meet somebody and they just do what I call show up and throw up.
Yep.
And they tell you all about themselves, but actually, if you meet somebody who uses a unique value proposition when you meet them and think, actually, that really resonates with me. You know, I might have met you at an event and you might say, you know, during the last 12 months, we worked with a significant business have joined Northern Affinity, and you know, 90% of those businesses have seen an increase in the traffic to the social media sites. They've received increased opportunities. I might think that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
But if you turn up and say, we're this fantastic membership organization full of collaboration, I might think, me too. So it's how you position yourself.
Yeah, you've made it about them, not about you, I guess, in its most basic form, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think one of the goals should be for people is remembering to focus on your prospect or your client rather than yourself. You know, but that's a really good way of putting it. And then I just wanted to focus in. You'll see here, I did talk about point 2, sales goals, but you'll see we've added in some bonus things. So we're coming towards the end now. Michael, have you got any questions for me before I sort of share my contact details at the end? And has this been useful?
No, absolutely, Pete, it has been. And I guess the question, if you know, people start with, say, the one-page plan, which to me sounds like a really good place to start to get some clarity. How often? I know it's a bit how long is a piece of string type question, but how often would you look to review that, update that, change that plan?
So we recommend them when we're working with clients every quarter, so every 90 days, we'll sit down with a client, because as we know, things are changing so quickly in the business world. And, you know, I heard, you know, we had Jamie Peacock come to present to our team at the end of November last year, and something that he said really resonated with me. What made you successful in 2021 won't make you successful in 2022, and you've got to continually adapt your plan.
Yeah.
Because otherwise
like
it becomes, yeah.
So anything like this, Pete, you'd probably the hardest one you do is the first time you do it, and then as you go along, you're essentially evolving it, aren't you, and tweaking it to see what's going on, like I said, with the wider world or with internally, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and it's almost like a, you know, I know this is something Michelle Cowan's really good at, but, you know, analyzing strengths and weaknesses, threats and opportunities. You know, it's that classic business thing. But I think you should have a separate sales plan from your overall business plan, because your overall business plan might look at operations as well. You know, and really honing in. And here's something that we've really learned, and it's an expression that our CEO Paul O'Donoghue uses: those who build the plan don't fight the plan. So, you know, if you're trying to build this, if you're a solopreneur and you're working with other consultants to help you scale your business, get people involved in it, because it's not just salespeople. Get people who are involved in touching the customer, you know, touch points with the customer, and that sometimes can be operations and finance. But you've got to sit down and review it, because coming back to the adaptability quotient, unless you do that, you know, you're going to carry on doing the same thing. And marketplace changes, there can be pressures on it. You know, we're fortunate, we do a lot of work with engineering and manufacturing companies, and there's a big push with those types of companies, so we're trying to develop that. But equally, we start to do a lot more work with tech companies, so we start to look at that as a vertical.
Well, Makes sense. And I guess like anything, having a second, third, and fourth eye on something, just sometimes you can't, you get so involved in it, you miss some obvious things, don't you? And it's we all do it. You get the work that you're so intent on doing that you just miss some things. You can't see the differences. So just having, like I said, second, third, fourth views, just to just have a bit of a sanity check, I guess, on things.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna share my contact details, Michael, on the screen. You can see a QR code, and if you want to distribute these slides within Northern Affinity, then more than happy. If anybody's got a request, and
I'm getting the QR code, Pete. I'm getting it.
Good. And I can see Emmanuel, I hope you found this useful as well. I can see your comments. And thanks once again. If anyone wants to subscribe to our newsletter as well, there's a link there. I think they all go through to hyperlinks.
Perfect. That's great. I think some really good content. All I'll say is that on a negative, Pete, you've given me lots of things to think about, and therefore more work to do. I'm not a fan of more work, Pete. Unfortunately, I prefer less work.
But don't you have a great team of people around you to help you deliver?
Absolutely.
Isn't that just down to people like Bradley and Sarah Small and people like that?
Well, absolutely, and it's kind of all of us working on that together, and that's the way forward, isn't it? So it's good, to be honest, for me personally. It's the type of stuff I enjoy doing as well. That kind of the overall strategy type things, because in theory, and if you do it well, it'll save a lot of time and effort further down the line. I always see these things as kind of not literally, but short-term pain for long-term gain type thing.
Yeah, well, I think the other thing, I know you're coming to our workshop on the 13th of the 13th of April. And by the way, just for anybody listening, we do have a couple of places still open for that as well.
Yep. Do you want to mention that? Do you just want to kind of give a a bit more detail?
Sure. So this year, our charity of choice as a business is the Greenhouse Sports Project in London. Jamie Peacock, ex-Leeds Riders and Great Britain captain, is running 100 miles on the 16th of April. Gemma Betts, my business ops manager, myself, are going to be running 10 miles with him, the first 10 miles of his 100-mile challenge. And as part of the fundraising, we've agreed to run a complimentary sales strategy workshop on the 13th of April at our offices in Huddersfield. And it's a free workshop. I know I don't like the word free. So the only condition is that
I can tell you you're struggling to say that.
Yeah, I'm struggling to say that. Yeah. I know Yorkshire people like the word free or value. So if you attend, you're going to get some massive value out of it. The only condition is that if you do enjoy it and you get some value, then you make a contribution to our fundraising efforts, and you can decide what that amount is. And you'll have a great day. There's some members of Northern Affinity already attending. I know you've registered to attend, so we've got a couple of free places. If anybody wants to join that, reach out to me directly, and I'll get Gemma, business ops manager, to get in touch with you.
That's great. Obviously, I've told you this before, and it's a kind offer, and I think a lot. First, I know a lot of people get a lot of benefit from it, which is obviously important. But I'm sure people will be happy to contribute as well to a great cause. So thank you. I really appreciate that. John. I'll just quickly flick your contact details on again quickly. So if anyone, obviously after that, wants to do that, they can do. But apart from that, thank you, Pete. Basically,
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and as always, obviously, it remains on the various platforms after the video, but we'll be uploading it onto our YouTube page, directly onto our website as well. So if you want to kind of go back, watch little bits at any point, then you can do. And like I mentioned, if you've got any questions, feel free to either through myself or directly to Pete. Just let us know.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you very much, Pete. Really appreciate it. And look forward to the next one.
Yeah, me too. I think we've got another one coming up in a few weeks' time.
Excellent. Thank you, Pete.
Cheers, and see you later.